Welcome to lecture 6 of Unit 2 Inheritance and Interfaces. And in this lecture, we are going to see about interfaces in detail. Okay, so lecture we'll see what is the definition of an interface and what is the syntax of interface. So, what is an interface? Interface is a blueprint of a class. But what is the definition of class? Class is a blueprint or template where multiple objects can be created. Okay, don't get confused between these two. What is an interface now? Interface is a blueprint of a class and it is same as abstract method where only methods are defined and not implemented. So what is abstract method? Can you recall it? Abstract method is something where only methods are defined and not implemented. So an interface also what you're going to do is you're going to define the methods and you're going to implement it in the next immediate subclasses. Okay, and here you define a method that a class needs to implement. So whatever method you're defining in an interface, the class needs to implement it. Okay, and the variables you declare in an interface should be static and final. So this is the concept of interface here. So what is interface? It is a blueprint of the class and it is same as abstract method, and here methods are defined and not implemented. Okay. And if you're going to declare any variables in the interface, it should be declared as static and final. So see the syntax of interface here. This is the syntax of interface where you have an access modifier. So what is an access modifier? It is either public, private or protected, right? Then followed by the interface keyword, and then you should give some name for the interface you're going to provide. Okay, and then inside the block of statements you have method name along with arguments. If you want arguments, you need to give arguments in the parameters, and then if you're going to declare a variable, it should be static and final. So this is the syntax of interface. Okay, so what are the different types of inheritance we saw? I said there are primarily 5 types of inheritance. Am I right? 5 types of inheritance. Correct? So the first type is single inheritance. The second type is multi-level inheritance. And the third type is hierarchical inheritance. And the fourth type is multiple inheritance. And the fifth type is hybrid inheritance. Am I right? So these three inheritance, that is single, multi-level and hierarchical inheritance, are directly supported by Java. That is, these three are supported by Java. Whereas multiple and hybrid are not directly supported by Java. This multiple inheritance and hybrid inheritance are not directly supported by Java. So, what I have said in the previous lecture is, since it is not directly supported by Java, the multiple inheritance and hybrid inheritance are achieved through the concept called interfaces. So, in the upcoming slides, we are going to see how multiple inheritance and hybrid inheritance are implemented using the concept of interfaces. Now you're clear with the general idea of what is an interface and how the syntax of interface is written. Now we are going to see how multiple inheritance and hybrid inheritance are implemented with the help of interface. Okay. So multiple inheritance. What is multiple inheritance now? If you have two base classes which derives one derived class, it is called as multiple inheritance. In other words, when one derived classes is inherited from two base classes, it is called as multiple inheritance. So these two base classes should be declared under interface concept. Okay, and whatever the methods and variables you're declaring in this interface and interface 1 and interface 2, this should be implemented in the derived class called son. Okay, this is for the diagrammatical representation of what is multiple inheritance is meant by. So again, what is multiple inheritance? When one derived class is inherited from two base classes, this is called as multiple inheritance. So in order to implement this concept with the use of interface, we need to keep two things in mind. So usually we'll write as class name and follow the program, right? So here instead of class you should write it as interface, and then instead of the keyword extends which you use in inheritance, you should mention it as implements. These are the two changes you're going to make. So instead of class you're going to mention it as interface, and instead of extends you're going to mention it as implements. And this interface you'll use only for base classes, whereas for the derived class you'll use class name only. Okay, so see here we have given here interface 1, interface 2, which implements this son class. Okay, now if we see it along with example, you'll be able to understand it better. So this is the example of multiple inheritance here. So what is multiple inheritance? So when one derived class is obtained from two base classes, right? So this is the concept and the program we are going to see here. So we have to create interfaces for two base classes, that is interface A and interface B, and inside this interface A and interface B we are going to define some methods, and this is class AB which implements A and B, and then inside this AB class we are going to implement what are the methods we have defined in A and B. Okay, so similarly see here, this is interface A, we have defined it, and then inside this interface A we are defining a method called A display and ending it with a semicolon, and then we are defining interface B, and inside interface B we are defining a method called B display. Okay, the interface part is now over. Then you have to declare the class AB, that is whatever is implemented from A and B. So how you'll write it? Class AB, instead of extends what you should use? You should use implements. So this should be noted, and this is very important. So class AB implements what classes, what interfaces? A and B, which is separated by a comma. Okay, and inside this what you should do, whatever methods you have defined here, it should be implemented within this class. So first we are implementing A display method. Okay, and then we are implementing B display method. Okay, and after this we are writing the main program where you're declaring another class and creating an object for AB, that is this child class. So if you create an object for this, you'll be able to access both A and both B. Am I right? So after creating an object for AB, you're calling the A method and also the B method. So now your output will be A is displayed and B is displayed. I hope you understood multiple inheritance with the help of interfaces now. Now the next concept we are going to see, hybrid inheritance. Okay. So what is hybrid inheritance? Now hybrid inheritance is a combination of two or more type of inheritances. This hybrid inheritance can be like a combination of single or multi-level inheritance, or multiple and a single inheritance. So if there's a combination of two inheritances, it is called as hybrid inheritance. So what is the combination of inheritance present here? So this is a multiple inheritance, and this is single inheritance. So combination of these two will give you hybrid inheritance. Am I right? So now we'll see an example of this using interfaces. So now you'll create an interface for which classes? These two base classes. So you'll create interface A and interface B, and this class AB will implement A comma B, and this class C, what you should write here, extends. Since this is single inheritance, it will follow the normal inheritance concept, so you should write it as extends which class? This AB class. So AB. Okay, so this is the concept we are going to follow in the proof. See here, interface A is being declared and a method is being defined, interface B and a method. So class AB implements A comma B, and again the A and B display methods are being implemented within this class, and then the single inheritance concept where class C extends which class? AB class, and it has a separate method being defined and implemented within the same class, since this follows normal inheritance concept. And here we are creating an object for C, and with this object we are calling all the other methods using the object reference of C. So our output will be A is displayed, B is displayed, and C is displayed. Okay. So hope you are clear with the concepts of interfaces, and using the concept of interface only, what we are doing, we are implementing multiple inheritance and hybrid inheritance. Okay. So if you want a recap of whatever we are seeing here, what you need to do is you need to try these problems out and see what is the difference between a normal inheritance concept and the inheritance using interfaces. Okay, thank you so much.